with doing yoga for a long period of time and then practicing it, you're regulating your nervous system to respond in a healthier way to stressors. And the way it was designed to be implemented, where most of us, we have chronic stress all day, every day, whether that's like financial stress or dealing with like stress from your business and lots of conflicts with people around you, maybe your employees or like, with your family. We weren't really designed in our nervous system to deal with the overload that we're experiencing today.
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast.
Hey.
All right. Well, welcome to In the Arena podcast. We've got a cool conversation today about yoga, which we just did a little yoga, not with Sarah, but we did yoga as a group at our retreat. And we're incorporating it more into what we do every day, every week, every month, part of our operating system. I'd love to hear how yoga has impacted your life. So tell us your full name and what your business is.
Okay, so I'm Sarah Mozingo. I teach trauma-sensitive yoga. My business is like freelance, and then I bring yoga to different organizations in the community as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So one of our partners in business that we spend time with, not like a direct partner, but somebody we spend time with, Dom Luke at Love More Yoga, which I connected you with Dom.
Yes, you did.
I'll take that
Yes.
out of boy. He was proud to know that you were coming on today because he said you were doing some work at their facility, right?
Yes.
And he's a former veteran, so that is one of the groups you're trying to target. So what do you do at Love More?
So I teach a trauma-sensitive yoga series. I've done one in the fall where I run like 6 to 8 week sessions, and we do it as a series too.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
All right, I need an explanation. I need a full broken down explanation. I'm a details person.
Okay.
So what does that entail?
What is trauma yoga?
Qualifies trauma-sensitive yoga?
Okay, so trauma-sensitive yoga, the organization I'm certified with is called TCTSY, so trauma-centered, trauma-sensitive yoga. And so we're with an agency that's called the Center of Trauma and Embodiment. And so the agency is a little bit different than you'll see like a lot of different people trying to sell trauma-sensitive yoga certifications or trauma-informed yoga. Ours is backed by 20 years of research. And so that's the difference. And so also, if you're kind of familiar with Bessar van der Kolk, he wrote The Body Keeps Score. He's the one who started the agency that we
The Body
work with.
Keeps what?
Score.
Score,
It's a
okay,
book.
cool.
Yeah, so a lot of people are familiar with that if you've done any trauma work, to where that's a lot of like the leading body of research behind like how we work with people who have experienced trauma.
Yeah. So like is the idea, and I'm just making this up, I've heard of this in a book or so, a military book, is it you store a lot of the experiences you have in your body and yoga allows you to release some of that stuff?
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. So how does it work? Is there a little more science behind it, or is it just work and you're part of the community that it works, so we're going to do it?
Okay, so the science behind, I would say the biggest factor when we've done a lot of research behind TCTSY is the invitational language that we use. And so you're inviting people to make choices. And for a lot of trauma survivors, maybe they had way too many choices in their life, or they didn't have enough choice and they felt disempowered. And so the way that like I would present, maybe asking somebody to go into a downward facing dog, if I was presenting like a traditional yoga, I might say, meet me in downward facing dog, where I would say something like, if you like, you might straighten your legs and then you might come into an upside down triangle pose. So it's just very different. It's very suggestive, very invitational. And so like when you're asking people to maybe engage in movement, you're offering them a choice. And I think that's the biggest thing with survivors, is knowing they have choices, and that can create autonomy and empowerment for them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So whenever you go into a typical yoga class, the commands are different. Is the experience, like the whole experience, different? I mean, what's the purpose of the trauma yoga? I mean, I think people go for fitness and exercise. Some people go because they want the breath work and the mindfulness and the ability to just be present for a minute. And some people are there for this now, right? So like, how is the experience different? Is it controlled environment? We only want these types of people in the room, or is it really open to anybody, just a different command system?
So Everybody, I think, can benefit from this type of yoga. It is geared towards people who have experienced PTSD or chronic or complex trauma throughout their lifespan. But the difference, I think, between like all traditional classes are going to activate that sympathetic nervous system where it causes you to go into flight or fight and then bring you down the nervous system and trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps you go into rest and digest. So it's also like engaging breath, engaging through the asanas, like your physical strength in the poses, but then it kind of takes you down into rest in shavasana. But I think with the trauma sensitive yoga, the biggest thing is that choice making. So the invitational language, the choice making of movement and the empowerment. And then you also kind of follow a very strict manualized way in terms of the way you teach it too.
So what are some results that you've had with people? I'm trying to connect the dots here with just any life experience. 'Cause I mean, it's at some basic level, everybody has some form of trauma that they've experienced, right?
Yeah, trauma is subjective.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether it's self-induced or, work-induced or trauma-induced, everybody has some form of stress they put on themselves every day, right? Even if it's just fitness in general, like people can go in the way that they exercise can cause their body trauma over time.
Right.
So like, what are some of the results you have from people? Is it all mental or is it physical too?
So I would say most interventions for trauma treatment have always traditionally been in mental health to target the mind, like cognitive behavioral therapy. So as we're finding more research in terms of like trauma happens to the body first, right? Like if you've been physically abused, it happened to your body first before it happened to your mind, and your mind was designed to process it. So they're finding a lot more research to support that mind-body connection in healing. So a lot of like mental health clinicians are leaning towards what's called somatic work, which is body-based interventions instead of just focusing on those like mental health mind interventions in traditional therapy. So it's kind of cool that we're seeing this transition in the way we treat trauma recovery.
For sure.
So my stress response is anger. And so when you say that, what I think is I want to hit something.
Yeah.
When I'm mad. So I feel that like the body connection to the stress, like at least that's how it makes sense to me. So it would make sense to want to release that in a safe and healthy way.
Yeah.
And so is that something that y'all work through? Like, are you working through that mindset connection in these sessions?
So we typically are following just a traditional yoga practice, offering different choices for movement. But with what you're describing, when you feel threatened, your body doesn't know the difference between like an emotional threat and a physical threat. Like our body's only designed to respond to stressors like threats. Like if a bear comes in here right now, your sympathetic nervous system is going to go to flight or fight. But if somebody who you're working with, maybe they yell at you, right, in a conflict, your body doesn't know, like, I'm not fighting a bear. So you are going to have
I'm
same
fighting
response.
A bear either way, for sure.
Right? But your body doesn't know the difference. So you're still going to respond with anger. And so with doing yoga for a long period of time and then practicing it, you're regulating your nervous system to respond in a healthier way to stressors.
Right.
And the way it was designed to be implemented, where most of us, we have chronic stress all day, every day, whether that's like financial stress or dealing with like stress from your business and lots of conflicts with people around you, maybe your employees or like, with your family. We weren't really designed in our nervous system to deal with the overload that we're experiencing today. And our mind hasn't caught up with what's really happening with technology and everything now. Our mind is still like very much like thousands from like when we first started really coming out the case, I guess you could say, in a way. Our mind hasn't caught up to with all the advanced kind of stressors we experience now.
And one of the things that I learned doing meditation at one point was, the point of mindfulness is not to have this perfect Zen state where you're constantly, thinking of having nothing in your brain, right? The one of the main things about meditation is to be able to just acknowledge the fact that you have wandered and then bring yourself back. And that is the goal of meditation, is the awareness of your mind and being able to control the way that it reacts to certain things. And so from a yoga standpoint, I can't get over the fact that I'm so inflexible that I never actually enjoy any of the positions. Like, I feel like I need like a whole month of just lubing my body up to be able to get myself in the position to be able to enjoy the yoga.
That's the easiest thing to become, is flexible.
Yeah, well, like that probably so, even though
stretching.
that's still very hard for me to do. It's probably much easier to do that than benefit from the mindfulness practices
Right.
of yoga and that kind of thing. So, as a business owner and what we do every day, and Dom tells me often that I need to remind myself to not walk into one meeting bringing everything that I went through in the last meeting or the last thing, give myself the space and to be aware, take some time to breathe, then go into the next meeting with a clean slate as opposed to carrying that energy around to other people. And I don't. He asked me to go to yoga all the time. To be honest with you, the times are very inconvenient for me, so I haven't been able to go yet. But I do see other people talk about the benefits of it. Yeah. So tell us about how you personally experienced from your personal experience with yoga and your journey with it.
Okay, so I started practicing yoga in 2016 as a trauma survivor. And I went through a very stressful event, very triggering trauma. And from there, I got into yoga and just found that it was very healing for me, between like the breath work, between the asanas with the physical, I guess you'd say physical exercises, and then also what it did for my spirit in terms of that. So after that event happened, I started kind of graduating from my master's in 2018 in psychology at Southeastern. And then I started working at a local juvenile detention center. And so I was a mental health clinician doing like psychological evaluations with the psychologist there, doing group therapy, individual therapy. And I just thought like this has worked for me with yoga and how much it's helped me. And then working with these kids, these young people who have been through significant trauma, I was like, this might help them. And we might be able to reach a lot of them at one time in a group. Whereas like if there's only a few clinicians going to work with the kid for the only small period of time they're there, it's not as effective as maybe like having a large group and getting this intervention at once. Sure. So yeah.
Very cool. And so you bought into it to the point that you now teach. I mean, Dom had a very similar experience. I know we keep talking about Dom. He's my biggest connection with yoga besides you now. And he said that as he was going through his, and I don't want to tell a story, but this is how I remember it. As he was going through his military career and transitioning out, the hot yoga, the experience allowed him to cope with the things that he had experienced in the military, which allowed him to, and he bought in so much that he has his own yoga studio and his family centered around this practice. And he teaches a lot of, John, our partner, has been taught by him in his practice about how to be a yoga instructor and things like that. So I know that it's beneficial. Convince me as a business owner why I need to do it.
Oh man, convince you as a business owner why you need to do yoga.
Because you don't find time to work on yourself, you make it. Yeah. So just do it.
Yeah. Well, I would say like the thing is with exercise. So I always encourage everybody to exercise. Physical activity is going to help regulate your nervous system because it focuses on more like activating it in terms of like helping it have a healthy amount of stress, and then you can resolve it. But I think with yoga in general, it's connecting mind, body, and spirit, and you actually rest at the end of every practice. Whereas like a lot of people go in the gym and they're lifting weights and then they don't stretch, right? And then what do? They leave and they go rush home and cook dinner or go take care of the kids or go work on a project, right? And so in every class, you're going to shift from activating that sympathetic nervous system, the flight or fight. In a yoga class, you lay there and rest for about sometimes like 5 minutes, and you have to come down from what you did. When you're just lifting weights or running, people don't fully engage that whole nervous system activation and coming down. So that's why I think yoga is so beautiful, because it follows the whole trend of way our nervous systems are actually supposed to be regulated. Yeah.
I finish my workout usually right whenever I have to go cook my kids breakfast and they're waiting for it. Cook them breakfast. And I go get in the shower and immediately grab and run out of the door. I do not take the time to breathe. But honestly, every time I do yoga, I usually, when I'm instructed to lay down, Dom doesn't invite me, by the way. He just tells me, lay down. And I lay down and I usually fall asleep within seconds of me laying down or get really close to falling asleep, because again, I've given myself that space to be quiet, and my body just tells me, you're tired. You need to sleep for a little while.
We like this.
Yeah, exactly.
We like
Thanks.
this. Right. Thank you. I needed
usually
this.
actually sleep pretty good for that 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
After going through that. So what's your plan? So what's the goal? I know you contract working away for all these yoga studios, and when's the next class at Lovemore? Do you have one scheduled?
I'm hoping to do some more work in spring.
Okay, very good. And so what's your goal with what you're doing with this yoga? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you focusing on St. Tammany? Are you trying to grow?
So right now I am in St. Tammany with Lovemore when I teach there, but I also contract out with Hope House. And so they work, with child survivors of sexual trauma, and they do the forensic interviewing. And I actually work with the therapist there. Very cool. And so I always say, like, for people who are working in trauma work, they need wellness too. And the secondary trauma really does go somewhere. I remember when I was a clinician at the detention center, you'd be picking that up all day, right? Where you're working with these kids who've been through like having terrible things having happened to them. And when you're, listening to that all day, that affects you,
100%. Yeah.
And so I think for working with Hope Houses, I just feel so grateful to be able to support them as they support other survivors,
My wife does this thing with my son. When he gets frustrated, she'll like give it to mom and she'll hug him, and like within seconds it's like he'll chill out. That I know that energy goes somewhere, so I know she's receiving a lot of that. So it's cool that you have that same feeling. Yeah. So how much of a part of Hope House are you?
So I go there once a month.
Very cool.
And I work with the therapist there.
And you're working with the therapist, right? Not with the children. So you're helping them cope with the things they're working with. Very interesting. Our organization Arena supports Hope House. Like we did the Heroes Who Cook event the other day. We were helping raise money, and we talk a lot about nonprofits because we support a lot of them in our community, either financially or from a business standpoint, from our advisory services. And that group, out of all of the nonprofits, there's a lot of great ones, but they just do a really, really, really good job.
Yeah, they do.
Well organized.
Well
structured.
Yes.
Tom's a good leader over there.
He's great. And
I think that, when you're evaluating nonprofits, like, and you're trying to decide which ones to support, it's the ones that allow the community to thrive, so that you as a business owner and a parent can live in a safe community that's growing. Yes. And I think that Hope House is the pillar and a great role model to look up to from other nonprofits, for lack of a better way of saying it, to see like, this is what it is to support our community. This is what an organization should be doing if they're helping our community be a better place.
Yes. And
we've talked a lot about them the last couple of weeks, just because we just had their event a couple weeks ago. But I think it's great. And thinking about the fact that these therapists need that as well is a big deal. Do you do any like personal yoga and coaching or consulting with people if that go through that type of stuff?
So I just kind of opened up to do 15-minute like free consultations to see not only like could I serve your business, but also like individually. I'd like to start that in the new year to do maybe some individual work, but I'm also a professor at Southeastern and Northshore Tech. So it's kind of like managing, like I'm starting an entrepreneurial journey, but I'm also teaching, college at the same time. So it's a lot going on to balance all that. Sure. So
Well, I'll kind of challenge you, put you on the spot. Like from a business owner standpoint, like who are you trying to target the most, and what value are you trying to add to that person?
So I'm mostly working with women who've been through trauma. Okay. Is mostly what most of my classes are geared toward that. And that's most of the people who show up for like my community events, or when I've partnered with like different organizations, mostly women typically. So not that I'm opposed to women. Yes.
But is that still your goal? Like, is that where you find the most joy in what you do, is helping those women? So you want to stick to that area?
Yeah, I'd like to. Most of my clients have been women. And I think that maybe it's just because I'm a woman, and then like I'm just more familiar with my journey, and I like working with women mostly. And I'm not opposed to working with men. Yeah. It's just like sometimes men don't want to show up to like a yoga brunch or something like that too.
Which we talk about that a lot, like as our advisory services. Like if you're going, like you have to have a clear picture of who you want to be in front of, who you want to impact. Not that you don't help everybody who comes, but like when you're speaking your message, this is the person you want to be in front of. That's why I was asking the question. Like if a woman's going through trauma and they want to go through a journey of coping with that through yoga, that they reach out to you, can sit down with you on a 15-minute consult. You decide whether you're able to help them or not. And then is it individualized planning and programming, or is it like, like you say, in order for this to be effective, we got to meet once a week for 30 minutes? Like, how do you kind of design the program around somebody's experience?
So typically I target like a 6 to 8 week intervention. So I treat it the same way like you would be doing like a manualized mental health intervention for somebody. And so there's planning involving it with it where one of the things that we do in trauma sensitive yoga is I do the choice making, and I also do what's called interoception. And so that's kind of just a fancy word of like noticing what's happening in your body. And so like the first session might be very like light. I might just offer a couple choices and to give a couple of cues about what's happening in your body. But by that last session, I'm trying to help somebody get triggered and then have their own kind of ability to cope with it. And so you're learning how, like, when I'm experiencing these sensations in my body and I'm noticing I have a body, because a lot of people don't even feel what's happening in their body every day. Then by the end of that, you've developed some skills to really help you navigate your like emotional and social world moving forward. Too.
You're a professional button pusher.
I guess in a way, like the point of doing, like in the point of therapy is in a way to trigger you and to help you cope with being triggered. And I think that's why a lot of people don't necessarily want to go to therapy or go to, like a somatic intervention, because it's going to trigger your nervous system. It's going to bring up stuff that you don't want to talk about. You're going to have to process your unhealed trauma. And that can be scary for a lot of people.
We talked about that today at our retreat.
Yeah.
Like how much that just weighs on your presence. If you're, living in the past and you don't want to deal with it and you think you're tucking it away, it's just taken away from you being wholly present and experiencing today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the experience a personal one to the point that it done in private mostly? For one, is it one-on-one more, or obviously you offer the class, but like as a person who's going through something that may want to go through that privately, that's part of the options. Like they can meet with you privately to do one-on-one. We
can do one-on-ones. I typically do group work mostly, just because you can serve a lot of people. And I like when you're working and you're doing group, you also build an opportunity, which is another one of my pillars, is shared experiences and community. So going to a yoga class, we're all taking trauma sensitive yoga together. We're relating and we are making relationships from like client to client. Whereas if it's just one-on-one, it might just be me and them building rapport, but then they are also possibly making friends. And the more emotional support you have, the better your mental health is in the long run too. Gotcha. So that's why I like the group classes. It's community.
Tell me about a typical class. So just so I can get an idea of what happens in a typical class. It sounds like when I think of therapy, it's a one-on-one, opening up, having communication. So tell me about the class and if that's part of the experience at all.
No, we don't talk about the trauma. So it's a strictly body-based intervention, strictly movement, strictly about choices. And it's really interesting. And even like when you think about things like massage or like other somatic exercises, it's still going to trigger the nervous system, but it's allowing the nervous system to heal and actually operate in the correct way, almost in a way when I'm doing the yoga, like I talked about, triggering that sympathetic nervous system and then allowing it to come down in the parasympathetic nervous system at the same time. So it's kind of cool. Like we don't have to talk about trauma, because a lot of the research says like if we all sit around and talk about the trauma we've been through, and if we all share like everything difficult that's happened to us, that can be re-experiencing the event. And for someone who's PTSD or has complex trauma, like they might get re-triggered, and that can actually set them back a lot too. Sometimes is what can happen for clients.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, where can I go get some trauma yoga? You gonna let me know whenever you go back to Lovemore?
Yes, okay, I will let you know.
That might be my first yoga classes to go over there and do it over there with you.
Yeah. Entrepreneurship is trauma. Yeah. So like speaking to all of, everyone listening to the podcast, like it's trauma every single day. And you gave the example of your kids. I mean, that's sometimes how we feel with our employees. Yes. Like sometimes they're coming to us and they're struggling at work, but they're only struggling at work because of trauma that they're experiencing outside of work. And sometimes, work is their safe place. Yes. And so we have to take on those feelings and those emotions and be strong enough ourselves as leaders to be able to take that on. So I think every entrepreneur can benefit from it. It doesn't follow the traditional sense of what trauma is, like you've had physical abuse or you've had mental abuse, but it's subjective in nature. And I mean, just in my opinion, how we live today, constantly on, like there is no downtime unless you make time for it. That alone is trauma to the body. Yes. Alone. Yes. So like if you just make time to do this, just like you said, to go through the full cycle of how our nervous system is built, it's just healthy.
Yes.
So I don't even think you have to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but think that something has happened to you that's traumatic. I think our existence today can be traumatic just because we work 24/7 and we're stimulated 24/7.
All the time with our phones, with TVs. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Well, this was really cool. I appreciate you sharing the opportunity for people. And I think knowing that you're local, our audience is pretty much is a lot of local people. Yeah. And so, we have a lot of ladies who come to us from real estate professionals to business owners, and then other entrepreneurs who experience the things we're talking about. So I'm hoping that whenever you do start teaching at Lovemore again, that we can share that, and then people can come join your class.
We're coming.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.